For 5 years, I lived believing I was blessed to raise another man's child. My wife Sarah always said, "She's not yours, but you have to love her like she is." And I did. Until one day, I found her birth certificate hidden inside an old shoebox. I was staring at my daughter while she slept when I realized I had seen that birth certificate before. Not the paper itself. My name. The same handwriting, the same date. I remember standing in our garage with a cardboard shoebox in my hands while cold air leaked through the side door. I could smell detergent from an open bottle of laundry soap and old dust from Christmas decorations stacked against the wall. The overhead light flickered. Inside the box were expired coupons, hospital bracelets, warranty papers. And underneath them, a folded birth certificate. I read my daughter's name first, then the date, then the section marked father. My fingers actually went numb before my brain caught up. Because for 5 years I had believed I was raising someone else's child. For 5 years my wife Sarah had reminded me of that. Not cruelly, not directly. Just often enough. She always had this way of planting thoughts gently. Be grateful. Be present. Love her like your own. I did. I loved Emily from the first night I held her. But standing in that garage, under fluorescent light buzzing above me, I kept staring at a line of black ink that shouldn't have existed. Father. Ethan Cole. Me. The strange part wasn't seeing my name. The strange part was realizing I wasn't shocked. I was relieved. And I didn't understand why. Sarah and I had spent years trying to have children. Doctor appointments. Specialists. Waiting rooms that smelled like coffee and disinfectant. Months measured by calendars and medications. I remember sitting beside her in fertility clinics while television screens played daytime talk shows with the sound muted. Eventually, the silence between us got heavier. Then we separated for a month. Not officially. Just distance. I stayed with my brother in Phoenix. She stayed at home in Denver. Then one evening she called and said she'd found an opportunity through private channels. A newborn girl. No waiting list. No agencies. No years of paperwork. Everything moved fast after that. Too fast. But grief changes your standards. I remember seeing Emily for the first time. Tiny fingers. Gray blanket. Soft breathing. The room smelled warm and sterile. Sarah cried. I did too. After that, life settled. At least I thought it had. But small things sat in the corners of my mind. Emily had my eyes. People mentioned it casually. Grocery stores. Family barbecues. My mother laughed once and said Emily had inherited the exact expression I used to make as a kid. Sarah smiled too quickly. Then changed the subject. At first, I thought nothing of it. Kids resemble people all the time. But years passed. The similarities got harder to ignore. The first thing that bothered me wasn't Emily. It was Sarah. Emily got sick one winter. Nothing serious. Just a fever that stayed around too long. I was filling out medical forms in urgent care when I noticed Sarah staring at one question. Family medical history. The heater hummed overhead. Kids cried somewhere down the hallway. Sarah looked pale. Later she told me to leave certain sections blank. She seemed strangely nervous. Weeks later, Emily came home from school with a flyer for a family ancestry project. Simple DNA kits. Nothing medical. Just genealogy. Sarah threw it away almost immediately. I remember hearing the paper crumple. I remember her saying those tests were scams. Too much personal data. Too invasive. Reasonable things. But her hand shook slightly. After that, I started noticing details. A medical invoice buried in our filing cabinet. Prenatal vitamins purchased months before Emily supposedly entered our lives. An old ultrasound charge. Sarah claimed it was from fertility treatments. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Then one night I was organizing cloud storage on our family account. Outside, rain tapped against the windows. The refrigerator hummed behind me. I found deleted photos. Hundreds of them. Most were empty by thumbnail preview. Except one. Sarah standing beside a mirror. Loose sweatshirt. Bathroom counter visible. Date stamp. 7 months before Emily's birth. At first, I almost closed it. Then I noticed her reflection. Her body looked different. Not dramatically. Just enough. Enough that I zoomed in. Enough that I sat there staring. Enough that I felt cold. I told myself I was imagining things. Then I ordered a DNA kit. I used Emily's toothbrush. I hated myself while I did it. Waiting for results felt ugly. I started building explanations. Sarah had hidden a pregnancy. Sarah cheated. Sarah wasn't sure who Emily's father was. Sarah panicked and created the adoption story. I remember checking my phone constantly. The vibration started feeling physical even when nothing happened. Phantom notifications. 3 days later, I opened a report in my truck outside work. Air conditioning blowing cold against my hands. Probability of paternity, 99.98%. I sat there for almost an hour. Cars moved through the parking lot. People carried coffee cups and backpacks. Normal life continued outside my windshield. Inside my head, everything stopped. I thought I understood. Sarah got pregnant during our separation. Maybe another man existed. Maybe she wasn't sure. Maybe she built the adoption lie because uncertainty terrified her. It made sense. Painful but understandable. Human. I almost felt relief. I even felt guilty for investigating. I decided not to explode. No screaming. No drama. That night I placed the DNA report beside her dinner plate. Steam rose from the food. Fork against ceramic. The clock above the stove ticking. Sarah stared at the paper. She didn't look surprised. That bothered me immediately. Then she started crying. Not sudden panic. Not shock. Exhaustion, like someone putting down a heavy bag after carrying it for years. I thought I knew what was coming. I was wrong. Sarah eventually admitted she had hidden the pregnancy, but not for the reason I expected. She said she always knew Emily was mine. Always. There was no affair. No uncertainty. No second man. Nothing. The room felt strangely quiet after that. Even the refrigerator had stopped humming. I remember hearing Emily's footsteps upstairs. Small creaks in the floorboards. Sarah explained that during our separation she found out she was pregnant. And around the same time, she found something else. Medical records. Old test results. Apparently, one fertility doctor had made a mistake years earlier. I wasn't infertile. I never had been. Sarah was. She had known before me. Known for almost a year. She said she couldn't bring herself to tell me. She knew how badly I wanted children. She knew I blamed myself. So she let me keep believing it. Then she got pregnant naturally during our separation. And something changed inside her. She thought if I knew Emily was biologically mine, I'd eventually learn the truth about everything else. So she built a different reality. Private adoption. Hidden paperwork. Fake agency contacts. Entire folders of printed emails. Receipts. Documents. An alternate history. 5 years. 5 years of watching me thank her. 5 years of hearing me apologize for failing her. 5 years of control disguised as protection. I remember looking around our kitchen. Family photos on the refrigerator. Emily's drawings taped beside them. Suddenly, none of it felt stable. Because if she built one false reality, what else wasn't real? Then I remembered something. The birth certificate. The one from the garage. I had never told Sarah about it. Not once. I went back to the garage after everyone slept. The house felt hollow at night. Air conditioner running softly. Tree branches scraping against the windows. I opened the shoebox again. I wanted to understand why it existed. Why she would accidentally leave evidence behind. Then I noticed something I had missed. The certificate wasn't folded naturally. Something had been tucked inside. A second paper. Hospital records. Original issue date. 3 weeks earlier than the birth certificate. Mother, Sarah Cole. Father, blank. I stared at it for a long time. Then I noticed another line. Amended by request. My name had been added later. Weeks later, not at birth. I felt my stomach drop. Sarah wasn't hiding who Emily's father was. She was hiding when she learned who Emily's father was. The next morning I pulled old bank statements, hospital payments, insurance claims, Dates. I lined everything across our dining table. Sunlight through the windows. Coffee turning cold beside me. And finally it made sense. Sarah had told me she discovered she was pregnant after our separation. But the dates didn't fit. Emily had been conceived before I left. Weeks before. Back when we were still doing fertility treatments. Back when we still believed I couldn't have children. Then I remembered something else. One appointment. One specialist. One afternoon Sarah insisted on attending alone. I never told Sarah what I eventually found in her email archive. I never told her I found messages with that doctor. Not romantic messages. Not an affair. Fear. Panic. Payment arrangements. Confidentiality forms. Because Sarah wasn't covering up an affair. She was covering up certainty. She knew Emily wasn't mine. Until years later. Until a private genetic screening changed everything. Until she learned the fertility clinic had switched samples. By accident. Or maybe not. Emily wasn't the child Sarah secretly gave me. Emily wasn't the child I lost and found again. Emily was the child both of us had been lied to about. And Sarah had decided it was safer to control the lie than destroy our lives with the truth. I never told her I knew. I just sat beside Emily while she slept. And watched my daughter breathe. Because that night I finally understood something. I wasn't the only parent who had been manipulated.